Professor Bruce McFarlane comes with the credentials required to help shape Australia's economic future. He's lectured at a number of universities and produced scores of books and articles on economics and politics. Professor McFarlane has just taken on the economics chair at Newcastle University and, for his inaugural address, claimed the bean counters are counting the wrong beans, the result of which is a stagnant economy.
These are historically unprecedented figures. They require a drastic plan to do something about it. Leaving it to the magic of market forces is not working.
Professor McFarlane says the economic rationalists guiding the government are short-sighted.
What's happened since Whitlam is that people have been afraid of too much innovation. They've been afraid of the big picture. So the economics profession has retreated into being technicians. They're no longer giving the government that sort of vision.
With immediate efforts to stimulate 5% economic growth, the professor estimates it will take between 4 and 10 years to achieve real economic recovery.
We've got to look at the Asian situation, we've got to look at what sort of population we want in this country, what sort of education system we're going to have to need if we're going to get into Asia. These are the questions that we should in economics. We're not talking about them. We're still talking about the price of a cup of tea, and I don't think that that's good enough now.
Waratah High and the Maroon were always in the box seat in their Buckley Shield game against Singleton. The Blues tried to keep Waratah pinned in their own quarter, but Brendan Fulp always managed to get his side out of trouble, running in 5 tries. Singleton never gave up trying though, Jamie Medhurst making the score respectable with just minutes to go. If losing the game wasn't bad enough, centre Matthew Martin was carried from the field after suffering a serious knee injury. In the University Shield, pre-game favourites Muswellbrook was stunned by a try from Warners Bay in the opening minutes. That forced the home side to thump their way back into contention. Stephen Boney caused all sorts of headaches for his opposition. His efforts settled Muswellbrook down, prompting them to run in 2 tries in just 3 minutes. Warners Bay forgot their discipline and dropped out of the game by giving away penalties. Muswellbrook are now one of the last 8 teams in the competition and play Bega in a quarter-final in 2 weeks' time.
On board this jet, Coffs Harbour tourists coming home after a week's holiday in the land of the long white cloud. They were part of the first ever international flight out of the city. It's hoped the service will open up trade links between Coffs and New Zealand. Smiles, hugs and kisses abounded as the locals came through customs, all raving about the success of their trip.
Tops, mate, tops.
Absolutely incredible. All records were broken at the breakfast. We had over 100 travel agents there. Everybody was just so excited about it, and they're all asking, when is the next flight? That's what we've got to determine, and we've got to make a decision next week.
That we are acting as a region. There was no parochialism. All of us, when speaking, we spoke of our region, the holiday coast. In New Zealand, it was accepted that way. They felt that, yes, yourselves together and ourselves together, there should be some real opportunities here.
Meanwhile, at the other end of the airport, the New Zealand visitors here for the Coffs Harbour Carnival were on their way home, and they too had nothing but good things to say about their stay.
Beautiful time. We had a marvellous time.
Cheer for your race meeting and bringing some more people, we hope.
Newcastle Council $100 million for its operations. A report being presented to councillors this evening shows a blowout of almost $1 million for the year to date. Councillor John Tate says the situation has to be addressed.
These figures indicate that there's a continuing expansion in the deficit, and council needs to do something to rein that in. What the figures don't include is the fact that the council is underemploying by about 50 positions, so that's not taken into account. That money hasn't been spent yet. And also there is an amount of $0.9 of $1 million, nearly $1 million, in works that haven't been completed for 1992.
While Newcastle Council management believes the organisation will still have a surplus result at the end of the year, Councillor Tate doesn't believe it's prudent to allow the current situation to continue.
It's the first time in Australia that large amounts of coal have been extracted using borehole drilling. The coal is being taken from two seams which make up the new Bayswater No. 3 mine planned for Muswellbrook. Holes measuring 2.4 metres in diameter are drilled and the coal brought to the surface. It's then combustion tested and the results sent to potential customers in Japan and Asia. Bayswater No. 3 will eventually employ around 220 people and by 1988 will produce 3 million tonnes of coal. The mine will replace Bayswater No. 2 mine, which is running out of reserves. A development application and environmental impact statement for the new mine will be lodged with Muswellbrook Council within the next month, and operations should begin by this time next year.
Be careful then, I think it's...
Siamese, Burmese, Abyssinian and Australia's only pedigree cat, the Spotted Mist, were all on display. Proud owners gave their charges last touch-ups before the final judging. The overall champion title was awarded to a black Oriental cat, Irameus Shahzad. Its owners, Greg and Avril Ferguson, were from Sydney. People from as far afield as Victoria and Queensland travelled to Kempsey for the show. It was the third year that the one-day event has been staged by Kempsey Cat Club. The club also highlighted Kempsey's country music heritage, with displays and a performance by country singer Les Partel.
The North Coast Academy of Sport offers talented youths the chance of intensive training without having to travel to the Australian Institute of Sport in Canberra or the New South Wales Academy in Sydney. Port Macquarie is at the bottom end of the North Coast Academy's region, and local children usually have to travel to the Academy base in Lismore for training. However, this weekend, the Academy has travelled south, conducting a two-day training session on the grounds of Westport Technology High School. The program covers a whole range of cricket training, including fitness testing, weight training, video sessions and work with Len Pascoe. Organisers hope the 17 boys and 3 girl cricketers who make up the squad will use the skills learnt to further their sporting careers and maybe one day emulate the feats of Lenny Pascoe.
Koster's record in Newcastle has been nothing short of brilliant. None of his fights have even gone one round. Former world champ Livingston Bramble doesn't think Koster's record is a worry.
No, I don't even know the guy's name.
I really don't. I've never seen no video because the promoter, I think his name is Bill, I don't know, whatever his name is, but he didn't give us a tape, so we really don't know the guy.
Although he hasn't seen Kostya, that didn't stop him throwing the first few verbal jabs.
I think one thing when I go in the ring, to knock you out. You're not going to see Bramble running around the ring like a Muhammad Ali. I come right to put you to sleep.
When he arrived at the airport with his entourage, he thought the whole of Australia was waiting for him.
I was so happy at the airport, you know, when I got out the plane and see how beautiful the place was. I just said, Haile Selassie's here, you know, and I just started screaming and yelling, you know, hey, Rastaman is here. And, you know, I'm telling you people, you got a Rastaman in town.
Apart from the fight, Bramble wants to do some fancy footwork on the dance floors around town while he's here.
It's not a thing where you go out there looking for girls. I just go out there and I love to dance. I would dance alone. It's no big deal. I just love to dance. It's an exercise to me.
The 24 cleaners staged a peaceful protest outside the East Maitland Bowling Club where the Premier was due to have afternoon tea. The message, delivered on behalf of their 8,000 colleagues statewide, was that a 40% increase in productivity over the last 2 years shows they are competitive. Not good enough, says Premier Fay. The market will be opened up to contractors this coming January, the government claiming privatisation will save it $32 million.
The only way they are going to save any money and do it cheaper is to cut staff and to cut the working hours, and that's going to result in schools not being cleaned properly.
Equally, the cleaners are sceptical of the government's 12-month guarantee of work with the contractors.
There's no guarantees with that 1 year at all. There's no guarantees we'll have the same location, the same amount of hours.
A lot of the women are over 40, 50. Who else is going to employ them at that age?
The union says it'll continue the public protest and lobbying of local MPs. However, if that proves unsuccessful, the cleaners' last hope rests with the budget session of Parliament due to start on September 7th. There, the opposition plans to introduce a government cleaning services retention bill. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
"17-year-old Kerry-Ann Arthurson has made a friend for life. For the past month, she's been sharing her home, her meals and her studies with 16-year-old Ria Jindal from Japan. The Year 11 Whitebridge High School student was selected from hundreds of applicants for the exchange program.
Well, I go over to Japan for 8 weeks. And I stay with Ria Jindal, my host sister, and her family, and go to school with her and just generally experience life in Japan with Ria and her family.
For Ria, she's the first to experience a change in lifestyle.
Food is very different, yeah, and many very small houses compared with Australian houses, and very cold.
And what about our national icons?
I cannot eat Vegemite. Vegemite. It's very yuck.
The achievements of Valentine's June Heath are amazing when you consider she began javelin throwing after the birth of her daughter in the early 1950s. She became one of the region's first women to represent at Olympic level when selected as Australia's women's javelin thrower for the '56 Melbourne Games. During her 13-year career, June distinguished herself with numerous state titles, plus managing to break the British Commonwealth record twice and the Australian Open record 3 times. Her Olympic honour also led to a close friendship with Russian sportswomen who invited June to compete in Moscow. However, family commitments saw her pass up the opportunity. June Heath died of cancer, aged 64.
The budget has left a sour taste among hunter vignerons. The wholesale sales tax on wine increased from 20 to 31%. On top of that, grape growers pay a 13% licence fee. All up, that's 44 cents in the dollar now going to government coffers, thus reducing the amount left to plough back into an industry now one of Australia's highest export earners.
For Tyrrells, that's basically 50 acres of vineyard that I was going to plant next year. Now that cash has been taken out of our business. Multiply that across the whole industry and we're talking millions of dollars that have been pulled out of the cash flow of the wineries.
The flow-on effect isn't favourable for employment.
I could see the Hunter Valley losing probably 50 existing jobs in the wine industry. And over the next 6 or 7 years there were probably another 100, maybe 200 to come in. Now those are probably not going to be given.
To the paying customer, that 11% increase is going to put an extra $1 on a $9 bottle of wine and almost $2 on a bottle worth $15.
I could see impacting 6 to 8% at least on the domestic market, so we're going to see that fall.
The budget's message to welfare organisations wasn't much better. In a region where youth unemployment hovers around 25%, it's believed the budget's $3 increase in jobless benefits will do little. The Samaritans help 1,500 people a month. That number is expected to rise, an increase welfare organisations can't accommodate.
Because the numbers of unemployed people are increasing, particularly the long-term unemployed, we expect to run out of funds this year by about October and November.
The budget reaction at a Newcastle businessman's breakfast was equally black, a feeling reiterated on the street.
The lower income people always get hit. They don't hit the people they should.
Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
When the redeveloped Paceway opened 4 years ago, it had everything that opened and shut, everything but a quality grandstand. And most Saturday nights, punters have been out in the cold in makeshift stands, waiting for their bets to come through. That's all about to change. By June next year, an enormous stand will stretch nearly the length of the home straight and will be equipped with all the creature comforts to keep punters happy.
The dining area will accommodate 250 people. The whole stand itself will accommodate approximately 1,100 under air-conditioned comfort. We'll have snack bars, tote facilities, both floors. No, it's a wonderful concept.
Despite the chilly weather, crowd figures are up on previous years, and it's expected the stand will finish off the Paceway, and already it's being dubbed as the best in the state.
There'll be nothing else like it. It is a wonderful place to put a stand. We're very close to the track because of our limitations of room, and it's going to bring the people right on top of the horses. It will be a spectacle.
Construction is expected to start in early November. Like no other team in the competition, Curry is feeling the weight of a whole community to come up with a winning result. Last night, the club trainer was still pushing the Bulldogs hard, making sure they ran through any soreness left over from last week. And although they put on a brave face, most of the side is having trouble with nerves.
A couple of other younger players have said that, but you know, I've spoken to them all and I'm sure they'll come through pretty good because there's a lot of experience there with Glenn Miller and Brian Quinton, Phil Williams, Terry Bender, so they'll all be okay.
The only change to the Curry lineup is Paul Romanik replacing the suspended Brendan Dooley. Last time Lakes and Curry met, the Bulldogs set up a winning lead by half-time and they hope to do it again.
Without a doubt, in the first 20 minutes, whoever can be in control the ball and end up on top will win the game, I think.
Lakes forward Paul Tideman knows not to count his chicks before they hatch, even if the Seagulls have a good lead at the break.
It's going to be a big experience for a lot of us. I guess the nerves are going to get to us a bit, but you know, we know what we've got to do, so we're just going to get out there and give it our best shot.
The 11:30 start at Marathon Stadium doesn't worry Lakes either. Tideman says it will actually help them.
A lot of us have played President's Cup football, so we're more or less used to running out at 12 o'clock in the middle of the day at the IC, so come that time Sunday, you know, we're not going to be thinking about it then.
Meanwhile, the third and reserve grade finals are underway now at Home Court Field at Charlestown.
Coming into today's games, Queensland, New South Wales and Western Australia were tied on the top of the ladder on 6 points each. After Queensland's defeat of New South Wales yesterday, today's match between Western Australia and Queensland was vital in sorting the winner from the rest. Queensland in the maroon and white was favourite going into the game, but WA wasn't going to give up without a tussle. The first half remained scoreless. Attempts by both teams to get close to the goal were foiled by keepers Elizabeth Marsden and Tammy Wolfe. In the second half, however, WA proved too in the game 2 points. It was a practice match for New South Wales today. They played a state development squad, winning 4-0. Western Australia on 8 points. New South Wales and Queensland stay on 6. The competition winds up on Sunday.
The reformed Newcastle Rowing Club has moved into a new base on Wharf Road. The modern rowing sculls stored by the club are a far cry from what were known as butcher's boats, used to race out to sailing ships to secure orders for supplies. Many of the boatmen rowed for recreation in harbour regattas, giving rise to the port's first rowing clubs.
It's only just bringing back rowing to where it originally started in Newcastle. Several clubs active in late 1800s, early 1900s. And this is just a coming back home.
The fledgling Newcastle Rowing Club hopes to build its strength to host a regatta in February and may once again contest the Underwood Cup, last polished up for presentation in 1902.
We're looking to obviously build a club that competes competitively, and but that's not to detract from the social side or people that just want to row for exercise.
The Family Protection Program aims to prevent the abuse of children physically, sexually and mentally within the family. But it was a day of fun today, with the showground turned into a child's paradise.
There's more than just fundraising. We want the kids to have a good time because we reckon kids are special and they need a day that they can have a lot of fun and that we can all show them that they are special.
There were thrills and spills at the Dodgems, and every child's worst nightmare came true on the spook train, while others opted for a more easy-going Ferris wheel. Some gave the rides a miss altogether and took in the music from the Coffs Community Orchestra. About 10,000 people in all passed through the showground gates, helping a worthwhile cause and having fun at the same time.
The real thanks should go to the public and to the community and the business houses that have supported us so graciously.
Seven-year-old Jessica and 6-year-old Jared lost their mother Sandra Millwood when she was murdered in May. They both witnessed her being kidnapped at knife point from their mother's Hedengreta home.
The kids miss Sandra a lot, their mother. It's a lot easier for me with my parents and friends giving me a lot of hands, you know. It's virtually without them it'd be nearly impossible for me, you know.
To try to ease the family's burden, owner of Cessnock's Australia pub, Maxine O'Brien, is organising a benefit for the two children. Signed rugby league jumpers will be auctioned at a fundraising event in October.
They've been through a lot and we sort of knew the father of the children, and I just thought it'd be a good thing for the children.
Shane Millwood and the two children are taking one day at a time, but the community's support has given him great comfort.
It's sort of warm sort of feeling. Just sort of, you know, if people think that much of you, you know, or think that much of the children, you know, to do things like this.
As long as they don't strive to alter that, we'll never achieve. Maybe now to show when we're allowed to work for our daily lives. Now, how can we find the time and how can we find the will?
Five die-hard Elvis fans took to the stage at Liverpool's Westfield shopping town for a contest even the King would have been proud of. While most sounded like Elvis, some were clearly out of the running in the looks department. The performance was enough for the judges to declare Dick Rivers the winner. Next stop, Graceland.
The two sides started on an even keel, splitting victories on their two previous encounters. The scores in the first quarter seesawed, both sides playing a quick, aggressive game. Gazza Sports shooters in the grey skirts took a while to find range. However, by quarter time, Gazza's had established a narrow 8-7 lead. Gazza's maintained this advantage in the second quarter, at times throwing everything into what's meant to be a non-contact sport. However, strong defence like this from Brewers' Martine Archer saw them slowly begin to peg Gazza's back. At times, Brewers using a variety of passes to get the points on the board. Leading 23-19 at the start of the final quarter, Brewers continued to pull away, taking the game 32-24.
Three-year-old Ryan Gray was playing in his bedroom on the first floor of the family's Swansea home yesterday afternoon. The tragedy happened in an instant. Ryan fell from the bedroom window, sustaining a fractured skull.
Ryan leaned on the screen door, the screen window, fly screen. The window was open and unfortunately the fly screen came off and he went through the fly screen and onto the concrete patio below.
Ryan was flown by rescue chopper to the John Hunter Hospital. Dad Peter had a sleepless night, but had this warning to other parents.
Yeah, don't take your eyes off your kids. However good you think they are, just don't take your eyes off them, you know. because you just can't. It was just a matter of probably 30 seconds and he was on the ground, you know.
The young boy is tonight in a stable condition in intensive care. Jane Anderson, NBN News. For some, the Westy County Fair was an uplifting experience. While the rides provided entertainment for the young, it was a more unconventional activity that created the most interest. The quest to see who could throw cow chips the furthest. Australian title holder Jim Heaton surprised the crowd with a 6. His cowpat landed 39 metres away, an effort up-and-coming cowpat throwers may one day better.
It was a clash of little consequence in the competition, but important for the and loyal fans. Club stalwarts Michael Hagan and David Boyd were playing their last game with the Knights, and Tower of Strength Mark dragged himself back from injury to go around with his mates. But there was no sentimentality spared on Wally Lewis's Gold Coast side. Mark Glanville in with the early points. Robbie McCormick finishing off a storming attack by Adam Muir. The Seagulls pulled Sarge up, but McCormick gave the burst extra legs. Jamie Ainscough was home. An unmarked Matthew Johns proved a loose cannon, moments later taking O'Davis with him again. Score 34-2 at half-time, and the Gold Coast's bruising wasn't over yet. Peter Gill led a one-man crusade for the Gold Coast's honour, but Stephen Crowe swooped in for more Knights points. David Boyd into the record books with a conversion. Final score 50-6. Knights reserve grade turned it on for the outgoing Brunker and Kemp, 20-4 against Gold Coast.
The new wing was originally planned to hold the state's most dangerous prisoners in high maximum security. A change in plans will see this area used for special prisoners who need protection. The $3.9 million addition makes space for another 70 prisoners, boosting the prison capacity to 200 men. Each cell contains an outside shower, a bed with flame-resistant mattress, a toilet and basin. An intercom keeps the prisoner in contact with warders. In opening the facility, the Commissioner for Corrective Services said society should try and keep people out of jails. At $43,000 per prisoner per year, it's a multi-million-dollar business.
So we've got to find better ways of handling people who don't quite fit into society.
The Commissioner says periodic detention and work release programs can help. Prisoners move into the new wing within a month.